SailGP has landed in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, look at the speed!
We're set for big wins and epic competition.
Wow, close moment! Wow, it's tight in there. Wow, getting loose there!
With the overall standing so tight, every point matters when $2 million is on the line. Welcome to SailGP.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
This is event 8 of season 4 of SailGP, and after visits to North America, Europe, and the Middle East, we now head to the waters of the Southern Hemisphere and one of the most iconic settings. Known for spectacular views and fantastic racing conditions, this is Sydney Harbour. Welcome to day 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix. With just 5 stops left, securing a spot near the top of the leaderboard is critical if the 10 international teams have any design on being crowned the Season 4 champion. I'm Todd Harris, and I happen to be joined in commentary with former world champion Emily Nagel and Olympian Stevie Morrison. Here are the season standings after 7 events. This weekend's hosts, Australia, are currently top of the table with 56 points despite not yet winning an event. New Zealand, winners of the last 2 events, are second overall, but they are without driver Pete Burling this weekend. And then it gets really interesting with the USA, Rockwell, Denmark, Spain, and Emirates GBR all within 2 points of one another. Before we get to the first race of the day, let's take a closer look at those teams in the 4th to 8th spots. For them, it's make or break time.
Brace yourselves for heart-pounding action down under as we chart a course into the exhilarating second half of the SailGP season.
Wow, getting loose there!
4th to 8th place overall will be scrapping for the podium here in Sydney.
Oh my lord, the boat jumps out of the water!
Robertson's Canadian team have shown their ability in the breeze. A strong performance here could see a change in the pecking order.
Everyone's going to have forgotten how to sail in that kind of breeze, so it's going to be a bit messy, and yeah, we'll have our foot to the floor.
France's Quentin Delapierre exploded with confidence in Sydney last year.
And the win will go to the French as they make it 3 for 3 in Sydney.
However, by their own admission, they're not where they want to be this season.
Heavy wind conditions are coming. We love it. I know that what we put in place together is really strong for the future. So I just have to keep the serenity on board and the team, and it will pass in our favor.
It will be Giles Scott's first taste of the F50 in top-end conditions.
With the overall standings, we're in a really solid position in pouncing distance to that top 3. Sure, it's where every team wants to be, and we're certainly no different than that. And I think as a team, we've just got to pull together, try and upskill me as quickly as possible, and get those good results.
Meanwhile, Spain, the youngest team on the circuit, are having their best season yet, making 3 light wind event finals with a victory in LA.
We gained definitely confidence in the light stuff, and I think we will make gains in the stronger winds, but until we sail, we won't know.
Denmark too are having an incredible season and now get Nikolaj Sehested back in the driver's seat. They are in 4th place and joint on overall points with the United States.
Sydney is super important in terms of position for San Fran. It might not be make or break yet. There's still a lot of Grand Prix left, but it's definitely a time to sort of turn up the performance. I think we reached the point now as a team where it's hammered down from here on.
Today we are scheduled for 3 fleet races in Sydney Harbour, where the winner gets 10 points, last gets just 1. Sunday we'll see 2 more fleet races, after which only the top 3 teams on points will qualify for the event final. To get you ready for what awaits the teams out on the water, here's Stevie Morrison with his course preview.
Beautiful Sydney Harbour provides the racetrack, and the teams need to be behind the line as the clock counts to 0. It's then a sprint to mark 1. At each gate, the boats can turn left or right. The F50s need to sail at an angle to the wind to generate speed, so we see them crisscross the course, trying to find the optimum path. Genesis Island in the right-hand side of our screen provides a natural obstacle out there today. The wind's very variable in strength and direction, so it's a big day for the strategists and the wing trimmers. Snakes and ladders out there, finishing first, going to be a challenge.
Massive crowds have made their way to Genesis Island. We're lucky enough to have local knowledge. Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing and what are you hearing?
Well, I'm seeing plenty of wind, Todd, and that's good news because we haven't seen much of it recently. Winds are averaging 30 kilometres per hour, but we are seeing anywhere from 20 to 37 kilometres per hour. So the topography of this land and also the clouds that we've got around here is making it super gusty and super shifty. So plenty to play for on this racetrack, finding more wind and a quicker path. Their 50s are running at the 24-metre all-purpose wing, and the breeze is expected to decrease, but we do have those high-speed foils in. So for less drag and more speed, it's going to be a great one.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. More from you throughout the day as we get ready to hit 1 minute to go before the first race. And the entire fleet, all 10 now in the start box. Emily Nagel, if you're one of these teams, where would you like to be?
In clear space with a good run up to the line. We've already seen some of the teams hit speeds of 90 kilometers an hour. So give yourself some space, get up to speed and hit the ground running.
Well, and here we go, Todd. I mean, the teams are lining up. We can see top left-hand side of our screen, we've got a gust of wind coming down the course, 35 seconds to go. The problem the teams have got, if you get a gust of wind, you're going to have 500 horsepower. If there's no wind, you're only going to be trying to start your boat with just 100 horsepower. So it's really hard to pick the start. The blue triangle, bottom of our start line, that's our optimum place to start. New Zealand and Spain are well positioned. France with a late run at things here. It's New Zealand and Spain well positioned, but it's all about hitting that line at top speed when the gun goes. Canada look for a gap late on. 7 here. Top of the line, Denmark. Middle of the line, New Zealand. It's all about acceleration as we turn towards the line. Great start, Spain. Great start, New Zealand. But who's first on the foils? It's going to be Australia, United States and New Zealand, and it's a sprint to Mark 1.
Keep it simple, all right?
Pressure building hard in 2. Pressing in this one. Hard gust.
Do we still overlap? Not anymore.
And a little more tension in their voice in this one as we are off and racing. Race number 1 here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
Really tight. I think United States have broken the overlap. What a start for Taylor Canfield and the United States crew. They lead at Mark 1. Australia second. New Zealand third. And it's so gusty. What a start from the US crew. How's the manoeuvres on board their boat now?
And going board.
So it's Taylor Canfield and the Americans out in front. They'll make that turn now to gate number 2. Remember, this is just the first race of 3 with the Americans getting a great start. Denmark sits in second, and then it's the Aussies and the Kiwis 3 and 4.
Well, and New Zealand and Australia have had poor manoeuvres in the middle of the pack there. United States look well lined up for gate 2. Spain looking like they're maybe going to make a dive on the inside. Left turn keeps it simple. Canfield wants that, but will Spain be able to get inside? I don't think so. It's going to be first again for United States, chased by Tom Slingsby's Australian crew.
Ivy, help on the course.
55 target. 50.
Ooh, tight crossings there as they all make their way down to gate number 2. Making their way up the course now. It's the Americans still in the lead. Australia in second. Denmark currently in third.
Gotta go.
New Zealand, the big losers on that downwind. There was a poor manoeuvre. They've dropped a few places. They're in the pack now, and interesting to see which way will the crews choose to go on Genesis Island as we head upwind. Top right-hand corner of our screen, we can see some dark patches of water. Should be good news for Spain. They're looking like they've got good wind, but New Zealand, wow, look at the angle difference to France. New Zealand is struggling in the pack as Denmark cut back across the course.
We're currently seeing the Spanish team with about 25 kilometers an hour of breeze on that left side of the course. The US team on the far right have slightly less, 22 kilometers an hour of pressure. But as Lisa mentioned, it's super gusty and shifty out there. so expect to see gusts of up to 10k an hour.
And look at this, Todd. Right now, Australia, they're foiling and they're sailing nearly directly up the ladder line. United States not foiling, and they're sailing at a far worse angle. So Australia at the moment, they're going faster and they're sailing less distance. That's the perfect setup for Tom Slingsby.
And let's check in down on the water. Lisa Darmanin, you've got the local knowledge. Tell us how Shark Island or Genesis Island is going to come into play in this race this weekend.
Breeze is inside. They're going to build hard.
Oh, it is so difficult to have Genesis Island right in the middle of the racetrack, but it does create a lot of opportunity because the wind has to funnel around it. So we're seeing a little bit of acceleration. So I really like where Australia is going right now, but the big thing that's tricky is it's shifty. So we're having, the wind's moving 20 degrees. So it's really about when Australia chooses to go back, but they're looking like they've got a really commanding lead here, and it's USA that's going to come head-to-head with Denmark as the next boat-on-boat situation.
And Stevie, with Genesis Island in the middle of the course, this course is just massive, what we've seen in the last two events in the Middle East.
Yeah, and there's opportunity. There will be gusts of wind on each side, and you've got to make your decision early. That's the problem with Genesis Island. What a fantastic view for the crowd. Right away, United States, as they come close to Denmark here. That's going to be interesting on the left-hand side of our screen. I imagine that's going to be tricky for Denmark. They had to keep clear there. I'm not sure if they did enough, but we'll surely hear from Craig Mitchell if they didn't.
Push the boundary, I think.
Voice of Taylor Canfield there. He's saying he wants to push right out to the boundary. As we get close up under the shore here, the right-hand side of our screen's the shore. There's going to be less wind. We can see Australia, they're off the foils, doing just 26 kilometres an hour, while the United States, look at that, 44 kilometres an hour. They're on the foils, but it's about to get hard for the United States with one more manoeuvre to do.
Hefty on air inside.
Leg 3 of 7, race number 1 of 3 today. We've got 3 races for you. Australia out in front. They are the overall leaders after 7 events with 56 points. New Zealand sits in second place, but remember, their driver, Peter Burling, he is on leave right now, attending to the birth of his first child.
And look at that bottom of the screen there, Emily. Spain have come the other side of Shark Island at the moment. It looks like a gain on paper.
Yeah, they've definitely got a lot more space to themselves down that side. Now, they aren't foiling at the moment, 29 kilometers an hour, but there's so much congestion on that eastern side of the island, the top of the screen, that at least the Spanish have space to do their own thing.
First through gate number 3 are the Aussies. Spain looks like they are going to grab second. The USA currently in third. Remember, Spain and the USA had great starts, Stevie, but it is the Australians that have burst out to a huge lead right now in race number 1.
Oh, this is just a constant. I think the saying today, Todd, is there's plenty of golf left in this hole, because this race is not going to be over until it's over. Spain now with the right of way over Switzerland and United States, and they're up and foiling. Look at the speed of Diogo Fortin. He forces Switzerland to manoeuvre. United States must keep clear. Threading the needle, Taylor Canfield there. He's now going to watch out for the French. Oh, he's got to keep clear there. That's surely going to be a big question asked by Quentin de la Pierre. It's really tight at the top of the race course here. United States turned right. They're going to have space. New Zealand, he's back in the race on board there. Looks to spin inside, and they think they like the wind towards the bottom of our screen. Last minute manoeuvre by Outeridge, who's in driving for New Zealand, and that's hard coming on board a new crew, but he's sailing back. United States up and foiling. Got to be good news for New Zealand, turning back towards the breeze. As we can see now, Australia, top of our screen, big lead.
Well, look how your fortunes can change. The USA was in second place. They drop back to 5th. Stevie, they go to the other side of Genesis Island, and look at the speeds.
Yeah, the US team, the Kiwis, the Danish, they're all doing over 60 kilometers an hour, while at the top of the screen, the teams up there are doing under. So big opportunity for these 3.
Everyone's still chasing the Australians, who are out in front here in race number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney.
Let's watch this manoeuvre. Very tricky manoeuvre in these boats in this gusty, shifty conditions. Can they keep the hulls dry? So good to see the F-50s up and foiling, hey Todd, after a few events where they've seemed almost stuck in the water. A little bit messy on board the United States, but it's tidy enough to stay in the race. France, what a comeback by de la Pierre. Struggling on the first downwind, but he's put the course together perfectly, sailing nearly straight down our ladder lines, minimising the distance really well. French are up to 3rd, chasing the Spanish.
And everyone is chasing Australia. Look at the lead. Look at the size. They have increased it over to 200 meters as Spain comes around the next gate. Then it'll be France who have moved up. They've always been thought of, Stevie, as high wind specialists. And this is a weekend they definitely need to excel because they currently sit 7th place overall.
Crucial event for Quentin de la Pierre and his team. And I think what you'll see as the weekend goes on, especially when it's shifty like this, if you're in the lead, you get to have the first choice. You get to make your own decision. When you're back in the pack, you're a little bit compromised. So for the leaders, they should have an advantage because they can sail to where they see the wind and they're less likely to be compromised by the boats ahead.
And these conditions, I wouldn't necessarily say they are our strong wind conditions. Yes, the boats are up and foiling, but it's still quite marginal. With the lulls, they're back into that H1 mode, one hull down in the water. So it takes an all-rounder to do well today.
Just as you speak there, you can see off the left-hand side of our screen, the United States had fallen off the foils. Spain and France, they're in a real tussle here. And Nathan Outridge, bottom of our screen on board New Zealand, he likes what he sees on this side of the course, turns the boat now, and it looks to me like he could have a good angle to take him straight back up the course, close to the fans on Genesis Island, with just a couple of legs to go, Todd.
And the gap has really closed as Spain and France are in a match race right now with Australia out in front. Look at the speeds of the Australians on top there. Over 50 kilometers an hour, and everyone else is just in their wake and eating their dust as the Aussies look to put a stranglehold here on race number 1.
But they aren't just sailing faster, they're sailing a much shorter distance as well. We can see their angle on screen. They're pointing directly up the course compared to the Spanish and French.
Boiler at the moment.
So good here in the comms. That's Kyle Langford. He's saying we're going fast enough to stay on the foils. Dark patch of water where they are now. Good chance to stay on the foils for the Australian boat here. They found good wind. Tom Slingsby, well, he lives just on the shoreline there, so he should know his way around. And at the moment, doing a brilliant job on board the boat. They stayed foiling through that manoeuvre. Great news for Australian fans, but it looks like there could be a few manoeuvres to do.
It's important to remember as well that this is one of the first times that they're on the small foils in many events, and the small foils make it much harder to maneuver as there's a lot less lifting surface.
It's the first time they're on any form of foil for a while, so for those flight controllers out there, it's a big day back, learning the job, relearning the job, and right now Spain, well, they're doing a great job on board that boat of keeping the boat flying, pushing hard. They're past the French here. New Zealand in the background. They're going fast. They've got themselves up in the fleet again, and it's light at the top. There'll be some nervous people on board that French boat right now.
So after gate number 5, it'll be downwind, and then they'll take a left-hand turn towards the finish line with the Aussies now with a lead of more than 200 meters here in the first race. On the bottom end, though, Stevie, you see Switzerland picking up a penalty. Germany and Emirates GBR really struggling.
Look how slow France are at the moment, Todd. They're 2 hulls in the water. That's so slow. New Zealand are coming at them, but the French have the right of way. New Zealand must keep clear, but they're dead in the water at the moment. What can Outridge do to find a way round him here? He's got the boat fast, but he's going to have a few more manoeuvres to do, and look, he's dropped into no wind as well.
And remember, every time you pick up a position, you pick up a point, so it's 10 points to the winner, 9 all the way down to 1 for dead last, and right now it's Emirates GBR holding on to that last place position.
And the battle is still on between the Spanish, French and the Kiwis. So far, the French have had the best average speed this leg, but the Spanish are getting back up onto the foils here.
They probably want to do one more manoeuvre, though. I think left turn's going to make it easier to get down to the next mark. New Zealand turn. Denmark, look at the speed on the Danish. They're back in the race. Spain on the inside. They have right of way here, but France are entitled to dive inside. And round the outside, here goes Nikolai Sehested. Back into SailGP. Nathan Outridge is going to dive on the inside here. He does no right of way versus the French. Can de la Pierre shut the door? No, he cannot. Nathan Outridge sneaks through. What a move by the Kiwis.
And Nathan Outridge goes full hocus pocus on the second to last leg. Meanwhile, it's the Australians who get around mark number 6, and they make their way for home on home waters on day number 1 here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. It will be Tom Slingsby and the Australians that open things up with a huge victory just outside of Genesis Island. Take a bow, Tom Slingsby. The Aussies take the win in race number 1.
Well, that was a Pretty dominant display. They are the most experienced team in the fleet. Nothing short of what we'd expect as the fans on Genesis Island there. They're going to be loving that. But in the background, New Zealand, well, they're in third place. Nikolai Sejersted, what a sense of timing on board Rockwool Denmark to come back through. Found great wind to the right of Shark Island on the upwind leg, and that dark patch of water we can see Denmark in now. It's good news for them. France and Spain, can they hold off the late charging United States? I think they probably can. What a first race. It's going to be tense out there.
But this is the battle now, Stevie. We've seen this before, and we've seen it so many times on Sunday where it comes down to a point and even 2 points to get into that event final. And Denmark doing the best to limit their losses. And look at Nathan Outteridge on board New Zealand trying to close the gap. He's going to probably come up maybe a little bit short as Denmark looks to be holding on for second, and the Kiwis will take third.
Yeah, I think consistency is the key on a day like this, Todd. It's so we've seen in this race, we've seen New Zealand have been in third place, they've been in 9th place, they've been up and down the fleet. Rockwool Denmark were out the back of the pack on that first downwind. There's a lot of action. You've got to make the chances when you get them. As we see, look, top of screen, Great Britain, they're back in last place. Canada, they've seemed to have fallen off the foils. So there's a lot of the big hitting teams that we'd expect to be at the front of the fleet struggling in the first day back on the foils here in Sydney Harbour.
So top 3 is Australia, Denmark, New Zealand, Spain in 4th. And look at this,
Tight.
at the last gate, here we go.
Switzerland are allowed inside there. They had the overlap. Seb Schneider just diving inside Eric Heil. What a move by the Swiss, and the Germans fly too high. Wow, big push late on by the Germans. They fall off the foils. That's going to be the Swiss comfortably ahead of them, but that was tight. Every point counts, as you said, and Seb Schneider, wow, there was no backing off the hammer into that one.
And it looks like problems at the back of the course. You see Canada dead in the water right now, both holes, as they have come to almost a complete stop. Meanwhile, it will be the Swiss edging out Germany for 7th place, so it's an extra point for them. The Germans will bring it home in 8th, and Emirates GBR just limping to the finish line, now getting speed. Look at this, over 70 kilometers an hour, Stevie. That's speed they needed earlier in this race. Germany coming across after that close encounter with the Swiss on that last mark, so they claim 8th. As we said, Emirates GBR will finish in 9th, and problems for Phil Robertson and Canada. Steve, I got to wonder what is going on with Emirates GBR. I expected so much more from them at this race.
Well, I think there's a lot for Giles Scott to take in. He's coming in this driver position. I mean, he's 2-time Olympic gold medalist. We're not talking about any kind of mug, but it's a very different game than he's used to playing. He's used to playing a longer race course, slightly slower things. He's got some learning to do, but he'll do it.
So the Australians come through in nearly record time, gives them time to rehydrate, fuel up for the next race coming up in just a matter of times. The Aussies win the first race here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix as they look to defend home waters.
So super tricky conditions for the start there in the wind shadow of Genesis Island, made for marginal foiling conditions. The Spanish team opted for the optimum point on the line, while the Aussies and Americans came into the line with speed. Now, that benefited the Americans really well. They were the first up on the foils and made it to Mark 1 first.
Well, and we saw that. It was in those details. I mean, the United States did a great job, but this one manoeuvre here, they fall off the foils, and look at the Australians. They execute a good manoeuvre, and this is just the racing in a nutshell. How do you minimise the manoeuvres like Australia are doing here? They're going faster, and they're sailing less distance, and we see it got really tight in the pack. Spain, well, they came from a big move to the right-hand side of Shark Island. They found that little bit more breeze, and it was really, really congested in the pack. It was how do you manage to avoid contact with other boats and keep your speed up, and nothing like that last turning gate. New Zealand dived on the inside. Denmark, well, he just said, I'm going to put the hammer down and just go right round the outside of the roundabout, and he did a fantastic job. Full speed, Nikolai Sejersted. What a sense of timing to make that comeback, and it's going to be like that all day. Can you find the gusts of wind and space when you need it most?
And taking a look at the numbers, we can see how Australia gave a masterclass in sailing around this course. Their average speed was the highest, 46.7 kilometers an hour, and also sailed the shortest distance, which we frequently saw with their angle to the next mark. 79% foiling time, higher than all the other teams as well.
Let's check in down on the water with Lisa Darmanin.
Well, congratulations, Tom. That was a great way to start at your home event.
Yeah, perfect way to start. No complaints. Jeez, it's tough. Oh, sorry, I got a lot of talk. Yeah, it was as good as it could have been. We sailed really well, good start, and yeah, you saw how it is. You're on and off the foils, really tough. There's light patches down to 5 knots and then gusts up to 18 knots. So perfect start. Hopefully we can keep it going.
As you said, it's so gusty. Is there a bit of a pattern emerging, or is it sort of you got to sail what you got at the time?
For sure, I don't know if there's a pattern emerging, but it seems like there's some trends when to cross one side of the island. Seems in that one, everyone sort of figured out that the left-hand side of the island was pretty good at the top, upwind, and then downwind it seems pretty similar too. There's a good side and a bad side. So yeah, I don't know, it's hard. You pick one mark that you want to go around, but then the race committee will move it for the next race. They'll see that we gain too much and they'll move it. So yeah, you got to completely reset and refocus.
And with these starts, obviously you could be starting in 10 knots or 20 knots. How do you do that time on distance?
It's almost next to impossible to hit the line perfectly with speed, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get a gust on the line. You don't know if you're going to get a gust 20 seconds before and be no wind at the start. It's very tough.
Well, the crowd is cheering you on. Good luck for the next one.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So it's Australia, Denmark, and New Zealand, the top 3 after race number 1, with 2 more races to go here on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, here in beautiful Sydney Harbour, as Genesis Island sits right in the middle of the course. Well, this season, Rockwell, Denmark is focused on being more consistent, but when driver Nikolai Sested took leave for the birth of his child to refocus their efforts, and now with business end of the season upon them, this Sydney event has been earmarked as a launching point for the Danes.
The Danish SailGP team have been campaigning since season 2 and are having their best season yet. They're currently in 4th, level on points with the United States.
And Rockwell, Denmark, they're going to be in first position at Mark 1.
Danes have been spotted a huge lead right off the gate.
They've been consistent with notable second place finishes in LA and Cadiz.
Great showing, consistent sailing across the board.
Nathan Outridge stepped in as driver in Abu Dhabi while Nikolai was welcoming his first child.
Nathan Outridge filling in for the great Dane. Nikolai Sehested steers the Danes into a top 5 position.
But now Nikolai is back and ready to take Denmark to the next level.
It's been a long break for me since last time with the team, but it's good to be back, and we feel pretty good right away. I think it's always a tough decision for professional athletes. At what time do you go into the family situation? We all grow up dedicating 100% to the sport, and otherwise you wouldn't get to where we are. But there's also other things in life, and I'm sure that when you get to the age that I'm in, most sailors and athletes are thinking about what's coming next in life, and I think it's always a difficult choice, but you got to look ahead to a long future as well, with some great experiences with the family. It was a tricky event, Abu Dhabi, to watch from home. It was painful at times, but it was a tricky event with the breeze and the conditions, and it could have gone either way for our team. Unfortunately, it went the wrong way, and it was an expensive event in terms of points, but that's racing, and it would have been the same if I was there. That's just sport. Not spending too much time on Abu Dhabi, we're moving on and focusing on getting a good result here in Sydney now. We're actually early in the season, we said that we're going to keep it very consistent and play it safe, and then when we get to Sydney, we said that's where we start pushing hard for the last bit of the season. So I think we're going to increase our risk a bit and start aiming for the top spots for the last bit of the season now, and also hopefully that can take us into the San Fran final.
Well, the 8th event in Season 4 of SailGP has long been circled as a pivotal stop that not only serves as one of the most beautiful backdrops, but also a key event for those looking to solidify their spot as the chase for a title passes through this portion of the Pacific Ocean. SailGP always looks forward to coming to the breathtaking scenery of Sydney Harbour. The iconic landmarks and epic sailing attracts big crowds. But before athletes race, they made the most of their time in Sydney, starting with a test by the Royal Australian Navy at the world-famous Bondi Beach. the Australian SailGP team went on to work with their sustainability partner, Prix, to help keep plane spotting beach clean and raise environmental awareness. The teams enjoyed a spot of wing foiling in perfect conditions, and it seemed for some, it certainly wasn't their first time. Well, an exciting way to start race number 1 of 3 here on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix here in Sydney. Todd Harris, Lisa Darman, and Emily Nagel, and Stevie Morrison with you as we get ready for race number 2. Wow, I'll tell you what, Stevie, we have long missed the high-speed racing, and we got it, so we'll slow things down just a little bit more so you can appreciate what they're doing out there on the water.
Yeah, it's great to see something that needs slowing down, that is for sure. And I think just the detail that we're seeing on this camera is quite incredible there. The teamwork that's going on, the intricacies of it, fantastic angle. And I think for the crews out there, it's going to be so much about these small details as the go goes on. How do you find the wind? How do you optimize the performance of the boat? Because look, if you're foiling like Spain are here versus the Swiss falling off the foils, it's tens, hundreds of meters in seconds that it all comes around, and it's a full team effort. Grinders on the left-hand side of the screen there, they're working real hard out there, pulling that big wing sail in and out all day to try and get the best speed out of the boat.
So some beautiful shots there as we regroup. Much more of Season 4, Event 8 from Sydney after this.
Hey everyone, it's CJ, and I'm coming to you live from Sydney Harbour, where I am surrounded by some of Australia's most iconic destinations. Right behind me, right around the corner, we have the Sydney Opera House, as well as the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Luna Park. And right in front of me, we have Sharks Island, and it's packed full of spectators who are so excited to be watching the races and cheering on the Australian team. If it's any consolation, I think this venue in Australia is one of the best on the circuit, because there's not many destinations where you're right in the city and right in the heart of all of the amazing things that are around. Well, if there's anything that I learned from that last race, is that experience pays. We saw Australia take the win, and I think they hold 2 big advantages over the fleet. One, this team has way more hours on the F50 than any of the other boats in the fleet. They were here since Season 1, and they were fortunate enough to not have any crew changes from then on, and that makes a huge difference in terms of communication for those on board and just sailing the boat well. And having those hours on the boat, you do maneuvers easier, and it makes a huge difference. 2, a lot of the sailors on board, this is their hometown. They've probably spent thousands and thousands of days sailing right here in this harbor, and they've got used to these conditions. They know the pattern, they know the wave state, and I think they're going to be really playing that to their advantage today. So I'm looking forward to see what team can challenge Australia and maybe put a win on the board. It's super gusty out here today, so the boats are flying sometimes and sometimes they're off, but they're just about to head to the start line for their next race. So let's go watch.
Flying carbon machines driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
Back in Sydney, Australia for event number 8 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix here in Sydney, beautiful Sydney Harbour. Genesis Island is the place to be to watch the world's best sailors compete here on Season 4 in one of the most iconic settings anywhere in the world.
The most interesting feature about this racecourse is having Genesis Island in the middle of it. This forces teams to make a choice of left or right around the island. With very shifty breeze coming off the land, it's hard to predict which side will pay. So far, the left side, top of the screen, has had better wind, but there's a lot less space to maneuver, which means that the bottom of the screen, right-hand side, could have an advantage. Strategists will have to keep an eye on the boats on the far side to see how they will converge at the top of the gate, as some teams will come in foiling and others in H1 mode, so not a lot of space to avoid each other in tight conditions.
So we'll see what happens in race number 2 as the Kiwis get themselves into position. And just a short time ago, Lisa Darmanin caught up with the new driver for this event, Nathan Outridge and the Kiwis.
Well, Nathan, it's pretty tricky out here, but it looks like you remembered how to do it in a bit of breeze.
Yeah, we had our ups and downs in that race, but yeah, it's incredibly tricky. The breeze just dropped a little bit before that start, so all the warm-up was a little bit easier than the race, and yeah, we kind of got a little caught out in that bottom mark first time, but managed to chip away and get a good result.
And with these high-speed foils and those big lulls, does it make it difficult to do those foiling manoeuvres?
Oh, it certainly does. You really need to be in the puff to pull off the foiling tacks, and you know, there's a little island in the way of the course too, so often you don't want to like tack into a full build because then you're aiming at the island, so that's why you're seeing heaps of boats off the foils today. And yeah, we've just been sort of having a little bit of chat about how we manage that because yeah, half an hour ago it was like 5 knots windier and it was much easier, so yeah, it's a challenging day, but it's great to be back racing on Sydney Harbour.
And how are you going with the team? It's fitting in nicely?
Yeah, I think so. They're probably talking about me in the background at the moment, saying Pete wouldn't do it that way, but yeah, like a third in the first race is a good start. We just want to get some good results today, and yeah, as I said, it's so good to be back on the harbour. The southerlies are a challenging one to race in, and Blair's keeping me honest around the course, so it's good fun.
Good luck for the next one. Thanks, Nate.
No, thank you.
So Nathan Outridge steps into some big shoes as Pete Burling is away to be there for the birth of his first child. And Kiwis look pretty good in that first race. They finished in a top 3 position, so that is good. Remember, it's all about accumulating the most points until we get to the last race, and that will be only the top 3 points getting teams that will race in the event final. Well, the teams get into position one more time for race number 2. We check in down on the water in Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, I've got some interesting news for you. Canada are having some technical issues. They're having problems with their wing. Not sure if it's electrical or hydraulics at the moment, but there is a 5-minute delay. The tech team is over there trying to fix it really quickly. But I can tell you what, it is still super gusty out here. We're seeing 20 to 40 kilometers per hour still. And to me, it looks like the clouds. There's lots of low-level clouds. When that comes in, like it has right now, there's a big increase in pressure. And as that passes through, there's a light spot on the other side. So it is changing quite rapidly out here. And I think there is opportunity to change the path around the racetrack. So I don't think one lap is going to be too similar. So the athletes are going to have to still stay super flexible today with their plans around this racetrack.
All right, thank you, Lisa. So Stevie, not a massive delay, but who does this benefit? Obviously, Australia wants to go racing right now.
I think it benefits all the teams if you use the time wisely. I mean, they'll all be learning out there. They should be getting some practice runs. We can see the Germans have clearly done a practice start. They're trying to make sure they get that timing right. We saw how crucial it is. Despite the fact that it's quite up and down, there are more opportunities to overtake. If you can nail the basics, so hit the start line on time, execute good maneuvers, trying to keep the boat up on the foils. We heard Nathan Outridge say it's not easy. You know, we think of just turning the boat as one of those basic maneuvers, but it's really hard when you're in amongst boats. We saw Germany there, practice lap, they're on their own. They could do it on their whole time. It's easy. When someone else is in front of you, it's a lot harder.
So just over 4 minutes to go until race number 2 gets underway here in beautiful Sydney Harbour. And when you think of SailGP, it's all about speed, it's all about precision, technology, and the numbers. And to give you a better understanding of how it all works, here's SailGP 101. At the end of the season, the winning team will lift the SailGP Season 4 Championship trophy and claim their share of $5 million. But how does it all work? Our scoring system awards points for each race that teams compete in across a race event. The top 3 teams with the most points will face off at the event final. One final race in order to determine who takes the event title and battle it out for maximum points towards the season standings. 10 to the winner, 9 for second, and 8 for third. 4th to 10th place are awarded season points based on their position from only the fleet races. These points are crucial for the season-long championship leaderboard. The championship leaderboard is recalculated after each event, and the 3 highest-ranked teams at the end of the season qualify for the winner-take-all grand final. So now you know, as we are almost set to go racing, under 3 minutes away for the start of race number 2. There you see Canada in the middle of your screen. Stevie, the good news is their support rib has pulled away, so they are on their own right now, and hopefully they'll be able to go racing here under 2:45.
Yeah, I mean, hugely technical boats, and maybe a little gremlin in the system, or maybe just overuse. Who knows what it was, but let's hope that Canadian boat's back up and going there. See the time to the start on board the race control vessel, and we can see gusty wind still.
2:20 now as everyone looks very calm, very settled, Emily. If you're Canada, you got to be a little bit nervous, hoping that the repairs they made are good. If you're New Zealand, you're Pete Burley and sitting at home watching this, you got to feel pretty good about what Nathan Outridge is doing, putting them in a top 3 in race number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan is a solid driver, and they've got a very, very consistent crew. So they know what they're doing out there. They've got experience in these slightly windier conditions as well. So you've got to be feeling good if you're the Kiwis. The Canadians haven't started to move back over to the start line yet, so a little nervous about whether they will make this start or not.
And unfortunate for the Canadians and their skipper Phil Robertson finishing in 10th place, so that's 1 point. And now, Stevie, 1:40 to go, so it looks like the racing will be on, and the Canadians are just in a dire straits right now. They have to get up and sailing if they have any chance.
Yeah, this is a bit of a disaster here. We're on board the bow of the British boat, as we can see Giles Scott. Well, he also needs to turn things around quickly. He's got a lot of learning to do. Huge experience alongside him. Yeah. Luke Parkinson, Ian Jensen, Hannah Mills, Nick Hutton. They've all won events in SailGP. They've all got that experience. Giles himself, double Olympic gold medalist. But they need a result very, very quickly here in these gusty conditions, and it's going to be pretty defined in the next 70 seconds. Can they hit the start line at speed?
And we've just heard that we are now delaying for another 2 minutes, so it's now 3 minutes, and now it's going to give Canada, another 120 seconds, Stevie, to hopefully get everything sorted out and up and running.
And this is really going to mess with some of the pre-start plans. All of the teams have quite a solid routine of where they want to be in that final 2 minutes, and coming up to the practice start line is not normally where we see these boats at that time.
You can see there, left-hand side of the screen as we're looking at it. There was a tech crew on board the boat. They're working hard on the systems. There's so many little systems there. There's an electronic system that helps control all the fine details, the wing sail, the big wing that we use there. That's actually got a big hydraulic system. So the wing trimmer's got buttons to move the top of the wing and all those still areas.
Let's go back to the start of race number 1 and the highlights here. And man, it's just good to see wind again, Emily. They're up and racing the entire fleet off the start.
Yeah, we're seeing plenty of speed on that first reach, and then that upwind leg is so tricky with the split of the island and making sure that they're staying up on the foils. Critically, that's where the USA lost the previous race. They had a brilliant first leg, but just couldn't quite manage their maneuvers.
One thing I'd say for sure is we've seen that Taylor Canfield, he can start so well, but it's ultimately about the finish, and that's where Nikolai Sehersted absolutely nailed the timing.
So race number 1 goes the way of the Australians. Denmark, New Zealand, the top 3. Spain and France round out the top 5 of the USA after that great start. They finish in 6th. Stevie, we've talked about this before. You can have one bad race in the first 5. You have 3 fleet races on day number 1, then 2 more tomorrow. You can have one bad. You really can't have 2.
No, and I think this is really bad news for the Canadian crew, unfortunately. It's going to make it so hard for them. It's going to be difficult times on that Canadian boat, but it's all about the fleet that's racing. We can see good wind coming down the course. Should be fast to the gun.
Under a minute to go before the start of race number 2. It is official, so it looks like Canada will not be able to get back into this one, so it'll be 9 international teams, all fighting for first place and 10 points. Remember, Australia won the first one, Denmark, New Zealand, the top 3, and Canada finishing in 10th place, so that really opens things up. And Stevie, you look at teams like Spain, France, and the USA who had great starts. This is the opportunity we have to show that they learned something from race 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to replicate in these changeable conditions. We can see it looks like decent wind wind coming down the course. New Zealand and Australia, they're closer up towards the top of the top of our screen. That's where the wind's coming from. I think in these gusty conditions, you're putting yourself in a safer position being up there. Nathan Outridge on board New Zealand. He's trying to close the door on Australia, but will his timing? He looks a little early for me. He's going to struggle to be quick. Bottom of the line, Germany, but it's going to be Spain and Denmark here. How's the timing at the top of the line? Nathan Outridge spins the boat down to the start. Clear there. Who's the first on the foils? Diego Botín looks like he's got his timing right, and Spain are up and foiling, but Eric Heil, beautiful, big gust of wind for Germany, and it's going to be a solid lead at Mark 1 for this young German crew.
First season for Germany, SailGP, and Eric Heil, the two-time Olympic bronze medalist, and it looks like he's going to get to Mark 1 first here in race number 2.
Good position. Spain are going to drive over the top. Outridge is going to be on the outside of the wheel on New Zealand here. It's going to be a tricky first manoeuvre for the Kiwis. Nikolai Sehested on the inside. He's well set for that first turn. As aggressive spin down by New Zealand. How well can Germany perform this first manoeuvre?
Turn in.
Wanting to keep that hull out of the water.
Go wheel.
Oh, it looks like a nice manoeuvre for Germany, and they're going to have the first pick at the bottom here. They'll look to set up for a left turn. Happy times on board that German boat, and it's tight in the pack. Look how tight it is as France and Switzerland try and cut the corner on New Zealand and Spain.
All three lead boats there doing 60 kilometers an hour of boat speed downwind.
Every boat wants to take the left turn on the inside here. Switzerland, they've got the right of way on New Zealand. What an aggressive manoeuvre by Schneider. He's got to get out of there. Everyone trying to get out into that left turn. Australia slides through on the inside. He's got to be careful. France can turn whenever they want to towards him. And all the boats now are trying to find the optimum angle for the upwind leg as Great Britain, 9th place. They turn away from the fleet. And is it a Hail Mary already this early in the race from Giles Scott?
So Germany gives up that top position to Denmark. Nikolai Sehested sitting to the right side of your screen. Then it's Germany, Spain, and then Switzerland, your top 4.
I think interesting here, look, none of the boats are really progressing up the ladder lines. The winds are sailing on very different angles on the left of our screen to the right of our screen. New Zealand and Denmark clearly like what they see on the right-hand side of the racetrack. It's the opposite side to the Australians liked on the one before, but who's picked it right? Who finds more wind in the next minute will be crucial.
Yeah, currently we're seeing the German team with 25 kilometers an hour of wind, while the Danish have slightly less, although it does seem to be building on that side of the course now.
So leg 3 of 7 in race number 2 with another race still to come. Canada not in this one. It has mechanical issues. Let's go down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing? And do you like the split from either of these teams as they try to negotiate Genesis Island?
Well, I'm about 100 meters away from Denmark. They've just lost a lot of wind, but they're about to get into about 30 kilometers per hour of breeze. So they are going to hook into this beautifully. And Spain on the other side has really dropped off. So it will be really neck and neck here. It's so puffy, and the wind is actually really narrow. So the gusts are narrow. So you don't stay in them for a very long time. So you have to capitalize on it. I think it's going to be tight, but Germany should be just out in front.
All right, Stevie, building on what Lisa was just talking about, for definition purposes, what is the difference when she says puffy between when we hear shifty?
Puffy just means there's gusts of winds coming down. The strength is changing a lot, but what's shifty means the direction's changing. So we see right now Spain, look, they're nearly sailing straight up these ladder lines. They're progressing towards gate 3 really quickly. They've got a great shift in the wind. They're sailing less distance.
And the mode that the Danish are currently sailing, they're also having to sail this high, shorter distance, but for a different reason. If they try and bear away, sail a faster angle, they'll hit the rocks. So they've got to keep it nice and short distance here, but mostly out of a safety point of view.
Keeping it simple right now is Spain as they have the lead. They make an extra maneuver right there to opt to go to the other side of the course. And here comes Emirates GBR from 8th place now into 3rd. They're back in the game.
Hail Mary's come good for Giles Scott. He took the different split at the bottom of the course, found more wind. The brains trust of Hannah Mills and Giles Scott at the back of the British boat, while they've pulled it out of the bag when they needed it. They're going to turn right on their own, and they're back in the race.
Australia back into 4th place after winning the first race, and it is Giles Scott and Emirates GBR. They opt for the other side again. So staying away from friends and neighbors, and Giles Scott and the Brits now into 1st place.
Well, and a good comeback by Australia. Great comeback by Emirates Great Britain, showing us in the lead at the moment. Nathan Outteridge on board the New Zealand boat back in 7th, but he looks like he's on the inside of Switzerland. Eric Heil hanging on there, but we can see how quickly things will change. And this section of the race now, this is your opportunity to make your move. Can you make some crucial overtakes? Because we're already halfway through this race.
Leg 4 of 7, race number 2, with one more still to come here on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
And I liked on that last shot where Spain were. We can see it's light winds on board Emirates Great Britain. They're struggling to foil. Background there, look at Spain fly across our screen. Rockwell Denmark fly across our screen in more wind. Tom Slingsby's found wind as well. There's just more wind by Australia.
And a look at the bottom left of the screen here shows us a summary from the previous leg and how GBR managed to close that gap. Now, they weren't the fastest boat round the course, 54 kilometers an hour average boat speed, but look at the distance sailed, 0.57 compared to 0.74 for Spain.
Stevie, it just shows how quickly this can change. To your point and what Lisa's been reporting down the water, Emirates GBR was in 1st place. They have now dropped back to 4th, and look at the lead that Spain has taken. And just moments ago, we were talking about how Spain has had great starts over these last 2 races, but can they hold on to it for all 7 legs?
Well, that's true, but we've seen them win events. The Spanish crew with space, I think, can do that. I think what's interesting is that left-hand side of the screen, the top of our screen, left-hand side of the course, on average, that's been the place to be. That's where Emirates Great Britain made their gain. So to turn right at the top was a surprising move, and they have lost out for that, but they're still in the match. 4th place is a good position. De La Pierre on board France. He's found good wind on this downwind. He's back in the race, and it's really tight. This last upwind leg, there could be huge opportunities.
Heading up.
Calm voices on board across the fleet right now as France makes the turn and they head back upwind.
Stage for JK, anyway.
It's interesting here. We see Emirates Great Britain manoeuvre, Australia manoeuvre, and Australia look quite well lined up for some wind on this upwind leg as New Zealand, they're back in the pack. France, who's going to find the most breeze quickly here? I like where Tom Slingsby's positioned himself. He's not got the right of way. He will have to dip behind Spain, but he's sailing a great angle and he's sailing towards wind.
Nice, guys. Here, cross.
Yes, still H1. Now slow, all good.
Hey, you got 15 more pressure this way. Hey, stand by. Building.
Here we go, Australia are going to move in that dark patch of water. Expect a foiling manoeuvre from the Australians here. They should be able to stick this, and if they do stick it, they're going to have the right of way when they come back together with Spain. It's game on for Slingsby on the Australians, but right now, Botín is going fast.
Diego Botín, the winners of Los Angeles and Spain, looking for a 2nd victory here in season number 4. They currently sit in 5th place overall, coming off a 2nd place finish in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, a tight moment here. Australia have the right of way. Nicole van Verden called the cross. She says they're comfy ahead. I think she might have judged it right. Great call there, confident call, but I think we're going to need to see 2 more manoeuvres for Australia and potentially 3 for Spain, unless they can just creep round the top of Shark Island to make gate 5.
Some brilliant sailing here by the Spanish and Australians in these marginal conditions. They're showing the best foiling percentage throughout this race. Australia so far on 92% fly time compared to Spain at almost 89. That bottom number there shows the height that they're foiling at, so we can see Spain have now just dropped off the foils, but previously they were flying around at a meter above the water.
All kinds of data being generated here at SailGP, and that data is shared across the board with the coaches who are on shore feeding information to their teams. And right now it is Spain that has the lead, Australia 2nd, Denmark in 3rd. And Stevie, these are 3 of the 4 teams that finished in the top 4 in race number 1. So consistency, to your point, as you said earlier, is certainly showing.
Consistency is key. I think to the left turn at the top's consistently been good, so expect Australia to follow Spain. They do. Rockwool Denmark are going to follow as well, and it's now advantage Botín, but Tom Slingsby, wow, he is absolutely breathing down the young Spanish crew's neck. We saw a bit of beef at the last event with Tom Slingsby calling the youngsters out, and Tom's back with a bang here on Sydney Harbour, and he's going to want to make a passing move if he can on this downwind leg. But yeah, Nikolai Sersted, calm movements, and in the pack, Eric Heil on board Germany, he has the right of way, but Quentin de la Pierre's got the inside. Can he sling that French boat inside the Germans? Oh, it's tight, no room in there for Germany. Germany must keep clear. Germany must keep clear. Whoa, the Germans missed the mark. Oh, and this could be disaster for the German crew. Can they keep it upright? Just. Oh, indecision by Eric Heil there. Shut the door by de la Pierre. Dramatic moments, and the Germans are going to spin back through the gate. Huge loss for the German crew now.
So as that drama unfolds, it is still Spain and Australia in neck-and-neck battle here as we come up on the final mark. It'll be a left-hand turn and then a sprint to the finish line. It is Spain that has the lead, but the Aussies about 20-30 meters right behind.
That all got a bit sporty at the top there. Great work by Diego Botín, and they're going to sail across the front of the fans on Shark Island. It should be a victory here. Sersted consistent with the Danish. De la Pierre up to fourth, and Outridge hanging on in fifth, but what a race by the young Spanish crew.
And as they come to the line in race number 2, it is Spain that takes the victory. Australia holds on for second. Denmark will claim third.
It's a bit of action there, Tom.
I'll tell you what, but the moment of the race on the penultimate gate, Stevie, where everything seemed to go wrong for Germany. They came in hot. Quentin de la Pierre made it really difficult for him, and we'll see how that all shakes down.
Oh, and Switzerland, top of our screen there, they fall off the foils in a straight line. Big error by the young Swiss crew, and now can they re-accelerate and hold off the late charging British? They've dropped back from second all the way back to seventh, but it looks like Great Britain might sneak. Is another big moment on board the Swiss boat. Wow, Nikolai Relay on board their flight controller. It's a first day really for him flying this F50, and he's struggling in these gusty conditions. There, Emirates Great Britain, Luke Parkinson, one of the most experienced flight controllers, and big move back through the fleet, as we can see the younger crew struggling a little bit here in these gusty conditions.
Take a deep breath as Emirates GBR at one time was in first place. They will finish in 6th. What a race here in Sydney. So Switzerland looking to hold on for 7th, but is it done as the Germans come flying in? Germany looking to pick up one more point. They're just going to run out of a little bit of Pacific Ocean here, and it will be Switzerland that holds on just for 7th place. The Germans take 8th, but Stevie, I got to think Eric Heil and company are happy to get out of that one unscathed.
I think the Eric Heil will be breathing fairly deeply there, and I mean, there's some positives in that race for the German crew, but there's a little bit of indecision at the top there. We're going to get a replay of it here. Now, on the right of way, but there's no room. France are entitled to dive inside there. Stuart Biffle, look at that, calling hard on Eric Heil. He's just not allowed to dive inside. He needed to turn right early as France were coming in, open the room for France and follow them round. Got a little greedy. Things are happening very quick there. Wow, I mean, I think we're glad to see no carbon floating around there. Now, you see on the inside, France have the right of way. They're not entitled to go inside there on board the German boat. Eric Heil should have turned right and spun up and made a little more space for France, but as soon as he decided to try and dive inside, he compromised himself massively. And well, fortunately, this German boat, I don't know that it can tip over a lot further without tipping all the way over. They've just about stayed dry, thankfully.
Well, a positive takeaway is no contact made and no harm done.
And looking back at the start, the Kiwis were early, opening up the door for the Spanish team to hit the line with pace. Meanwhile, the Germans at the bottom of the screen had so much room to maneuver, and so they had one of their best starts of the season, making it to Mark 1 in the lead.
And sometimes when you're at the back, you have the fleet make the decision for you. Emirates Great Britain, well, they were at the back of the pack. They chose to turn right. No point following when you're already at the back of the pack. And in these shifty conditions, we can see they went from 9th to 3rd. They found that space. They used it really well. But they'd gained from the top left-hand side of our screen. They turned right. So they sailed to the side of the course that had been struggling before. And, well, fell off the foils, sailed into less wind. And what had been a big gain turned into a big loss again. And that's the story of the race. A lot of tight moments, and you've got to make quick decisions in those tight moments. Eric Heil here, wow. He got the blinkers on, slightly rabbit in the headlights as he came into that mark there, but thankfully no harm done. Some good racing, plenty more to come out here on the water, no doubt about that, but its consistency counts. Bottin's been consistent, but Slingsby's the star of the show so far.
Well, consistency is certainly king in SailGP, and it was the case. Once again, Australia going 1 and 2. They lead the way with 19 points. Spain, though, bouncing back nicely after that 4th. They sit in 2nd, tied with Rockwell, Denmark. And there you see New Zealand and France in the hunt for the rest of the field. They got to get up and go and get some points quickly in this last race. Let's check in down on the water. Lisa Darmanin with our winners.
Well, congratulations, Diego. It was so shifty, but it seems like you are sailing really well today.
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting more reach. At the end, it's like this, but for us, it's full on. It's super hard conditions to sail these boats, and yeah, happy with how we are going now, but we still have another good race, more race to go.
And is it fun to be able to play the shifts and play the game while you're foiling around at 50 kilometers per hour?
I mean, for us, as I always say, we are changing stuff all the time to learn to try to catch up with the top guys, and these conditions make it even harder for us. So yeah, it's quite hectic on board now for us, but yeah, getting on with it.
Well, it's all on now. You guys are changing the tube. You're going for a bit more power?
Yeah. The forecast said that the wind was dropping throughout the race day. It's dropping, and we go for a bigger jib so we can foil a bit more.
Well, we'll leave you to it. Thanks, Diego.
Thank you very much.
And a smile on the face of Diego Bottin as Spain wins race number 2 to go with their 4th place with race number 1. Wow, great action out on the water. Once again, Stevie, super slow-mo, captures it all. And how about this shot?
Yeah, I mean, what a start it was, and the German boat did so well. The positioning was perfect. It was about getting up on the foils, and you can just see here, look at those rudders on board the Spanish boat there, generating that extra power with the differential in the angle between them. Tom Slingsby, well, he's enjoyed the view of the racing so far, as have we, to see the F50s up and foiling on Sydney Harbour.
Absolute thing of beauty in race number 2. Well, each member of the crew of a foiling F50 has a particular job to execute during a SailGP race. However, this weekend, the role of wing trimmer takes center stage as the league, which is powered by nature, gets a full dose of what Mother Nature is capable of providing here in beautiful Sydney Harbour. Season 4, Event 8, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
The wing trimmers are going to have it all on in Sydney. It's been a while since they've sailed in strong winds, and it's going to be fascinating to see who has the pace come this weekend.
Basically a bit overpowered. We'll have more energy than we can deal with, so we're always trying to make the sails flatter to less power, less drive, which is slightly different to what we've had all season.
The windier it gets, the harder it gets for everyone.
Because things are happening quicker, you can find yourself in a bad situation a bit faster.
The wing trimmer is the guy making sure the boat is going as fast as possible.
The F50 has 3 different sizes of wing. It's the 18, the 24 and the 29. And you'll use the bigger wing in the lighter wind and the smaller wing in the heavy.
We can set the wing to some optimum settings, and then it's literally in and out. You know, as the wing goes out, you lose power, and as it comes in, you gain power.
Trim it on, coming down, Eric.
And as wing trimmers on the F50, because we're foiling, we're actually controlling the heel of the boats.
In the lighter winds, it's easier to go head out and look around, look at the wind and the other boats, but when it's windy, it's just better to focus on speed.
We have a lot of instrumentation on board, which is giving us targets for almost every single thing that we can adjust on board. And to be honest, with Team Australia, we don't actually use those targets. We do everything on field. We think that our feeling is better and more refined than the targets that are produced and given to us by SailGP.
Okay, let's get a foiling, guys.
We're comfortable when it's windy, and we like it to be on the edge, you know, boats kind of risk of capsizing and losing control, because we feel like we can push the boat to the limit more than particularly the newer teams and the younger teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating next few days within our team, but it's going to be even more fascinating watching teams like the Americans who haven't done a huge amount in this stuff, and to see whether their humbleness comes out a little bit more.
So we'll see what kind of humble pie Mother Nature serves up to the wing trimmers and the rest of the crew as they get ready for the third and final race here on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney, beautiful Sydney Harbour. 2 races down, 1 race still to go down under.
Hey everyone, I'm back, and what an incredible second race that was. The Spanish, the young guns, they took that win from Australia with a really nice start and some good strategy all the way throughout the race. I think this is to see, especially after he said that he thinks the young right on their home turf. Now, what I'm seeing on the water is that the breeze size so that they could spend more time on their foils and flying. So all of the teams are currently changing their jibs right now to acclimate for this lighter pressure. On that last race, I saw the Aussies and the Spanish. They did something I thought was really good. They took that bottom right.
Speaking, flying carbon machines driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
All eyes turning to the water now as we are just moments away from the third and final race of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix here in beautiful Sydney Harbour, as the fans down under enjoy a Saturday afternoon where the best sailors in the world have come to the Southern Hemisphere. Yesterday, SailGP's Impact League announced its winner for the focus area Accelerated Inclusion, using sport to increase awareness of diversity and equity.
So SailGP has what's called the Impact League, where they're measuring performance of the teams for areas related to environmental and social impact. The one that I'm involved in is called Accelerating Inclusion, as really powerful and special for me personally.
When we saw all the topics ahead of the season, we really think that this one was for us, and we worked really hard. Yeah, so at Cadiz we organize one sport race.
10 SailGP sailors, together with 10 parasailers, sailed on RS boats and having a blast of a competition, I would say, so that was really good.
One Sport Race was a fantastic initiative. My mum's an occupational therapist, and I grew up kind of doing or participating in a lot of local sailing projects, and the One Sport was kind of something for me that was really quite fun to do from my side, and I think it really kind of gave us the chance to compete on an equal footing.
For sure, it's important to teach to the league, but also to the wider sailing community that everything is possible.
We want everybody to have equal opportunities, whether it's in sports or other parts of the society.
But what they've designed in terms of how they're planning to engage communities with disability to participate in sailing, it really steps out how they will for the long term, and that to me was very compelling. But the Impact League is just fantastic, and it gives a place where we can recognize the team's really best efforts to do both high performing, but also be good in the world.
So with Switzerland taking the win in the accelerating inclusion focus area with a perfect score, this puts them 25 points ahead of Australia on the overall Impact leaderboard. The Aussies, alongside their partner Prix for the Oceans, have been sharing the sport of sailing with local communities through their educational program and hold on to second overall. And with a second place finish in the accelerating inclusion focus area, Rockwool Denmark are catapulted up the leaderboard from 8th place to 3rd overall with the implementation of their ocean science education program in Toronto. Now, before the start of the final race today, let's check in with Lisa on the water.
Well, Emily, it is looking pretty much the same. The wind has died off, and as I was talking to Diego before, they've got the bigger jib for a little bit more power, which hopefully will help them. We've got around 22 kilometers per hour on average, but as we know, it's gusty out here and anything can happen. The other thing is where the start box is, so where everyone's lining up. That's probably the lightest place of this racetrack. It's hiding behind Point Piper, a very nice place to live, but not so good for the wind. So it does make it tricky for them to set up. This is why I think we're going to see them set up a little bit further down the harbour. That's where Australia and New Zealand got caught up last time. So it'd be interesting to see if the teams are learning and if they can make their way around this racetrack just as well as they did last time.
Lisa, before we let you go with under 90 seconds to go, do you see this race having enough wind that we can see some overtaking still in the latter legs?
Definitely, I think it's all to play for out here. When it's gusty, when it's shifty, it's not the survival conditions we were expecting. It's all about playing the tactical game, and nobody's safe out here. If you pick the wrong shift or you stay out of the pressure, you're going to go from 1st to 6th or 7th.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa, as we get ready for race number 3, 1 minute away.
I think those new to SailGP as well. Of course, the big wing sail, and Lisa talked about the jib. That's the small flappy sail at the front of the boat there. That's effectively the engine on these F50s. Bigger the sail you put on, the bigger the engine you've got. So we've just tried to give the boats a slightly bigger engine, hopefully get a bit more speed out of them as the race progresses.
Well, you will notice, though, it's only 9 teams in the start box right now. Canada's still unable to go because of mechanical issues, but what an iconic backdrop with the Sydney Opera House in the background now. Stevie, 30 seconds to go until the start of the 3rd and final race today.
And there we have it, the pole position, the blue triangle coming off the start line there. That's the optimum place to start to give you the fastest angle to Mark 1. But the more important thing is hitting the line at full speed. New Zealand are out the back of the pack here. Spain look well lined up, Denmark look well lined up, and Germany again. France are diving in, but where's the gap, Contan? I don't see where you're going. It's all going to be a little bit too late for the French, but the French are foiling. What timing by the French. Germany perfect to the bottom of the line again. Eric Heil, what a start at the bottom of the line. He brushed off the incident in the last race again. New Zealand, Nathan Outridge spritz the fleet in 2. He comes through second. Brilliant from Germany, brilliant from New Zealand, and Delapierre. I don't know how he found a gap through there, but he did.
Okay, coming down the
At mark number 1, once again, it is Germany that will take the whole shot. And the rest of the field, Mikey, getting themselves into position. How about France and the Australians and the New Zealanders?
What a start. 2 in a row for Eric Heil. He certainly brushed off the incident of that final gate on the German boat, regained focus, done a brilliant job here. But France, they've been consistent today, but what they'd give for a race win in this final race, as we see all the boats again, look like they're setting up for a left turn at gate 2.
Okay. Coming up in
So at
5,
gate number 2, it's Australia in the back of the pack now in 7th, so they've got work to do, but as Lisa reported, there are certainly spots and places with the conditions that we have on hand to make passing maneuvers. Can Germany hold on to this spot and get a top 3 finish? And France goes to the inside, so Quentin Delapierre is not done being aggressive out on the water.
Oh, that was an aggressive move there. Dived inside. Eric Heil on board the German boat. He spins it away here. As we see now, New Zealand, well, he got dived on the inside of, but they stretch away. And we can see Germany, they're sailing back towards that darker wind to the left-hand side of Shark Island, Genesis Island, as it's rebranded for this event. So I think that's got to be good news for the Germans crew. Bigger races, bigger rigs out here. Big rigs win big races, and Germany, they're leading the fleet away at the moment.
An interesting choice by Germany there to lead the tack back. Previously, we've seen the race leaders take it a little bit further up the course and tack across where this lighthouse is there. So be interesting to see where they come out of this.
Leg 3 of 7 in the final race of the day. Stevie, let's go back to the start once again. And France, Quentin Delapierre, maybe feeling a little bit desperate, needing some points. He took some big chances in that start box to get himself into position, and this time it worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you come into that thing with speed, you've got maneuverability, and he used that really well. But right now, Nathan Outridge has absolutely nailed his line up the course here, nearly sailing straight up the middle of the course here. As we go back to that start, we're on board the French boat here, and we can see there Amélie Rieu dives in to have a look. You can see there's not a lot of gap in front of her at the moment, but the French boat gets up and foiling, and as soon as you're on the foil, you can maneuver the boat really quickly. They dive through the gap. Suddenly Australia have to keep out of their way, and it was a little bit like Moses parting the Red Sea there, Quentin Delapierre. He found the gap, he threaded the needle, and it turned out well for him. As we come back to the race course now, and we can see it's Outridge, the wind whisperer. He's found his way up this course on board the New Zealand boat, and he's looking like he should be leading here. What'll be interesting, what does he do at the top of the course? Historically, a left turn at the top has been the percentage play. What does Outridge call?
So Nathan Outridge, one of the sailing greats, filling in for New Zealand, and Pete Burling, who's away for the birth of his child. Is New Zealand in front, Germany sitting in second. They've yielded that lead. France now aggressively moving now into 3rd place overall, with Denmark in 4th. The Australians now up to 5th.
Nathan chooses to turn right. He obviously heard me saying turn left. He's split away there. He's found wind. He should be looking for a darker patch on the water. He's got a great angle. The wind's rotated to the right, so that does favour the right turn in this instant here, and it's a big lead for Outridge. As we see Delapierre, he looks to turn left. Rottwell Denmark on the inside. They're going to need to spin in quickly. There they go. They should be able to make the turn. They're going to turn left, but they're a long way behind New Zealand, and it's going to be interesting to see what plays out as we head down the course.
Let me ask you this, Stevie. Is that what Denmark and Nikolai Sehested wanted to do, or did Quentin Delapierre force them because of the position he was in?
I think they had the opportunity to go below France, but I think he probably felt he was going to shut the door on boats behind by turning in there. So again, percentage play. Historically, the way Australia, Denmark and France are going today has been the way to make a gain. Now, maybe New Zealand has seen something we haven't. It looks pretty good. They had a great angle out of that mark.
Now, the Danish and French having that little match race as well opened up heaps of opportunity for the German team. They were able to stay on the foils at that top gate, and they have continued to separate that gap between the two boats.
Yeah, well, we can see the lead that Nathan's taken here. Nathan and the New Zealand crew, they've sailed some good angles down here. They've got to the gate with a big gain. Now we can see the wind has stayed shifted to the right-hand side of our screen. That means that Denmark and France are nearly sailing straight down the course, but sailing fastest at the moment, it's Eric Heil on board Germany, and speed's the king right now as Germany look like they're going to hold on to second.
Gate number 4, it is New Zealand, the center of your screen. They have the 1st place position right now. Germany, who got the whole shot, the best start, sit in 2nd place. A nice drag race between Denmark and France side by side. It'll be interesting, Stevie, see how Denmark forces this one and Quentin Delapierre yields the position.
Yeah, Denmark just far enough ahead. France needed to be overlapped on the inside to have the right of way. Delapierre didn't think he'd get there, so let's minimise the loss, open up the gap, and they're going to look to follow. But expect manoeuvres from the boats behind as Tom Slingsby, here he comes.
and Slingsby make up the distance. They currently sit first place overall, not only in the season, but in the standings after 2 races. And 5th place for them, Stevie, would still be a win. Let's talk about Nathan Outridge, though, way out in front. Remember, he's filling in for Pete Burling, and I was curious to see how well he would mesh into that team. He knows these guys oh so well.
Well, looking at the numbers from that previous leg 4, well, we can see that he's doing just fine. He is in a league of his own, 70.8 average speed compared to the Germans, the second fastest team, at 66.6, and only sailing marginally more distance.
Yeah, and he's sailing bravely. I mean, look, we can see Genesis Island there, and traditionally they've all gone to the left. Now the wind has rotated right. Nathan's trying to minimize distance. He's going to be on his own on this side of Genesis Island. He's going to hope he's seen the wind right. But yeah, not a bad understudy for Peter Burling at the moment. He's filling in pretty well, and they had no practice yesterday, so he's very much learning on the job out here, although I'm not sure how you 2 times grand finalist, and he's been runner-up in this SailGP twice, so I'd hardly call him a beginner. But they're off the foils at the moment, top of screen. Denmark are foiling. Has Outridge found enough wind to get him to gate 5 and then down to the finish in time? He's losing distance at the moment.
Denmark and France, though, locked up in a match race classic right here as they hold on to top 3 positions. This is leg 5 of 7, so they'll make their way around gate number 5, come halfway down the course, and then a left-hand sprint to the finish line, and that'll wrap up the racing for today. Australia has been the class so far, Stevie, but right now in 5th place. Tom Slingsby will not be happy with that, but they should be in a top 3 position at the end of day 1.
Yeah, consistency's the king. I think Tom will be happy enough. You know it's that kind of day. Nathan's going to get across in front here on board New Zealand. Nikolai Sehested, he's sailed absolutely brilliantly today. They've been doing some good overtakes, plenty of room for improvement on the starting. But yeah, look at that. He looks like he should be second behind Nathan up at gate 5. What are France going to do? Choose to follow Nathan and Sehested, keeping it safe on board the French boat.
The Danish have been one of the most consistent teams out on the water today, and if they hold this position to the finish, this will put them in the lead.
The bow though there, Emily. Have they filled the boat with water? Can they keep it foiling? I think they can. That was nearly a big mistake by the Danish. Misjudged that turn away from the wind, plugged the bow underwater, but they've kept it going. They're slower than France at the moment, though.
Australia picking up another position as they've moved ahead of Germany, who have dropped back to 5th place, and a tight crossing with the Swiss, who they come behind them. So now the race is on. Can anyone close the gap to Nathan Outridge and the Kiwis as they make their way to the last mark number 6, and there you see the finish line. I think they're going to run out of time and distance, but Denmark now have put themselves into 2nd place with France in 3rd, and Tom Slingsby's not done just yet.
I think what we're seeing today, Todd, is how much experience counts. I mean, it's just those more experienced crews, more polished crews. Okay, Nathan's a newcomer to this team, but he's one of the all-time greats in the SailGP League, stepping back in with one of the all-time great crews. So they've gelled well, and New Zealand look like they're going to definitely take the win here in race 3.
And as we come to the finish line for the 3rd and final race of the day, it's Nathan Outridge and the Kiwis that take the win. Denmark holding off the French, and it looks like they will hold on for 2nd. And look how fast Tom Slingsby's coming in with his speed over 50 kilometers an hour. Does he have the time and distance to pick up another spot? He would love to get past Quentin Delapierre as the Danes take 2nd.
Well, he's got nearly twice the speed, and he's got twice the distance to sail, so this should be tight. Delapierre does have the pole position. I think he's going to shut the door okay. Nice job by the French crew.
Australia will hold on to 4th place, with the Germans taking 5th and the Swiss in 6th. Wow, so for Germany, Stevie, let's focus on them. Great starts, 2 races in a row. They finish in the top 5. There's something they got to take away with 2 more fleet races coming tomorrow.
I think they look like a very talented, very new crew.
Yep.
There's a lot of good points, a lot of mistakes, so they've got plenty to work on. I think they'll overall be happy with the day. I think for this great British crew, Giles Scott coming home in 7th place, I think he's going to be feeling a little bit disappointed, maybe a little bit shaken up by the day. It's just not quite come together. So hard coming in on a shifty, variable day like this, but I think with the crew you've got in front of you in Luke Parkinson, Ian Jensen, you'd be hoping for more.
Spain will go 8th. USA will finish in 9th, with Canada not starting. They'll finish in 10th. And so for the first time in the history of SailGP, we go on board New Zealand and their driver, Nathan Outridge. Nathan, congratulations and welcome to the show. You got a late call to start up. You look like you know what you're doing out there. Give us an idea what the conditions are like and how you're meshing with that crew.
Yeah, late call-up's always good. I've sailed a lot with these guys. It's been a pleasure to race today on Sydney Harbour. It's been quite shifty. It took us a while to get fired up in those first couple, but very happy to take that win there.
Nathan, someone once said to me, you're only as good as your last race, so you're going to be ending the day feeling pretty good out there. What are the key learnings you've had from today, and what's going to be crucial tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow's conditions will probably be quite different. It'll be probably quite east and a little bit lighter. But yeah, lots learnt today. It's good to be out here racing. Those first couple of starts, we had okay starts, but got caught having some pretty bad bottom mark exits. So it was nice to get a really clean bottom mark exit in that race and just link a couple of shifts together. And it's amazing on the high-speed boards how fast they can go when you're in pressure, but how slow they are when you're not foiling. So, yeah, it's a fantastic day. Sydney Harbour. Where else would you want to be, mate?
Hey, Nathan, thanks so much for your time, and good luck to you and the team tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Well, there we were. Rolex best time start of the day. Spain, 0.8 of a second behind the gun. And I think in these shifty conditions, you're not going to see the absolute bang of the gun. But it was often converting it that was the consistency that was the key to converting those manoeuvres. And, well, the new crews just didn't have that consistency. The old experienced ones, Denmark, Australia, New Zealand, they stuck the manoeuvres. They got the results. They gave the crowd what they wanted.
Fleet race number 2, and once again, after Australia gets the win, they stay consistent, Stevie. They finish in the top 2, but this time Spain would get the win in race number 2, so a little bit of topsy-turvy back-and-forth battle, and Diego Botín showing himself very well.
Showed himself to be very good in the shifty conditions. He optimised the manoeuvres and just sailed the boat fast and sailed a shorter distance, but we saw it got tight. Things were variable, changeable, and those new crews, again, a little bit rabbit in the headlights. Things happening very quick out there, but if you're out in front, it all feels pretty good.
So Spain gets the win in race number 2, and then the third and final race, once again, Germany at the front end of the race course, but in the end, really, masterclass by Nathan Outridge, who's forgot more about sailing than most people will ever know in their life.
Well, he's a pretty good super sub to have come on board. He's definitely one of the leading drivers in SailGP, so to step into a crew that he works with in the America's Cup World anyway, it's been a pretty natural fit, but they've learned through the day, and they're going to be feeling good for tomorrow.
So there you go. After 3 races on day number 1, consistency certainly is the king, and Rockwell, Denmark, and Australia share the top spot. New Zealand sitting currently in second by themselves. France still in the running, as is Spain, and then you see the big gap, Stevie. So the top 5 teams looking very good for tomorrow. Still an opportunity for those other teams, but they're going to need something massive to happen for them to get in there. And unfortunately for Canada, really no shot of getting into it. But Denmark looks so very good. Nikolai Sehested, the Great Dane, back in the mix here in Sydney. Let's send it down to Lisa Darmanin, who's on the water. And we now check in with Nikolai Sehested. Nikolai, welcome back to SailGP. It's good to have you with us. You like these strong gusts that we're seeing here in Sydney?
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be back. It's yeah, we like this stuff. It's hard boat handling and just hustling in big shifts and puffs, and yeah, like a lot of difficult maneuvers. Oh.
Nikolai, we thought you might be a bit rusty having an event away. How easy has it been to gel back with the team straight away?
I am a bit rusty. With less warm-up, I could feel it, but the guys are not rusty. They're helping me through it, and we had some really solid teamwork today, and it makes my life a lot easier.
Nikolai, thanks so much. We wish you guys best of luck tomorrow. 2 more fleet races, and maybe we'll see you in the event final. So the Great Danes looking very good, looking very consistent, and now everyone turns their attention to tomorrow. 2 more fleet races before the event final. Everyone wants to know what the weather will be. For that, we check in with Lisa.
Well, it's going to be even trickier tomorrow. The wind is looking like it's going to shift further round to the north race course tomorrow. It's going to also be a lot lighter. So 20 to see Shark Island will still remain a very difficult feature for the second.
apologize, a little bit of breakup there with Lisa going around Genesis Island. Emily, all right, we turn our attention to tomorrow. What is the most important thing you want to see, and who's your team to watch?
Well, my team to watch is definitely the Danish. I said it before the event started that I thought these conditions would suit them well. They've got experience in big breeze, but also in the marginal conditions. And especially tomorrow, that's what it's going to be all about.
Same question to you, Stevie. Who do you like, and who do you think is going to be the team to beat?
Still think Australians look very good out there. There's going to be a configuration change. Lighter winds means we're probably going to see different foils on the boat for tomorrow, but Australia are going to be the team to beat.
All right, so that wraps up day number 1, and what a combination. On behalf of Lisa Darman and Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. We will see you for day number 2 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. Until then, so long, everybody. Welcome to day 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
What a start for Taylor Canfield. Here goes Nikolai Seherstedt. So the Germans fly too high. Look how tight it is. Germany must keep clear. Whoa! The Germans missed the mark. Oh, and this could be disaster for the German crew.